Once he dies, when he comes back, he can take his bride, because the death has already, that part of the law has already been fulfilled. So he's coming back. So this word means the king, the seed, the Messiah, the reigning and ruling king who is coming to attack, and he will pursue you.
Yeah. Oh, how?
That's what this word means. Overtaking. You will be pursued. And when someone pursues, attacks, I'm talking about it being to where they go past the limit to take you out. So, we see that noon, and we see the shin, and the gimel. Deuteronomy 28, 58 through 61, it says, and if you do not guard to do all the words of this Torah, if you do not guard to do all the words of this law, of this Torah, that are written in this book, to fear this esteemed and awesome name of Yahweh your Elohim. So see, when you don't walk out his laws, when you don't walk out his teachings and instructions, you say, I don't fear you. So he's the one that's going to come back and bite you and attack you. Then Yahweh shall bring upon you and your descendants extraordinary, great and lasting. Remember that word, lasting, continual, nun, perpetual, lasting place, and grievous and lasting sicknesses. And he shall bring back on you all the diseases of Israel, of which you were afraid, and they shall cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the Torah, Yahweh does bring upon you until you are destroyed. My word is gone forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void. They will cling to you. Everybody read this together. Hosea 4 and 6. My people have perished for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being priests for me. Since you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, I also forget your children. I have rejected you. All these people walking around saying that they are preachers and ministers and bishops and pastors of the Most High. He said, but because you have forgotten my Torah, do you think they wanted to forget it? Generations. It's just like Rabbi 2 taught the other week, that after a while, you forget. It becomes dimming. That blindness, it takes over. 1,000 generations later, do you know you're Israel? You down in the Mojave Desert somewhere. Do you even know that you had a relative that even lived in Israel at one time and reigned as a king or as a priest? That worked in the temple and did the temple sacrifices? Do you even know that? 1,000 generations later? So do people know? Did they want to forget the Torah? Did they want to forget the laws? No. I don't think some of them didn't want to. Those who are here now, do they want to? Once they're exposed to it, then it's a heart issue. If they decide not to, then Father will judge them. He will judge them. But then there are those who don't know, who've never heard this word. And then they come to a place like MHG and say, I need to learn. Because there's something within me that says, I'm supposed to be keeping this. I was told that Sabbath keepers that's a cult. But I'm reading in the Torah where it says, in the scripture, where it says that we should keep the Sabbath. The 10 Commandments. The 4th one says we should keep the Sabbath. So, since you have forgotten the Torah, the scripture says that he was going to look at, that we were going to look at his Torah and consider it a strange thing. That's why people look at us and say, what is your religion? That's strange. We say, oh, we walk according to the scripture. We live according to the scripture. We do all the holy days. That's strange. Why do you do that? That's only for the Jews. Said that it's a strange thing that we were going to say that. And what are the laws of the Most High? What are his laws? His teachings and instructions? His governing rules? Thou shalt have no other God before me. Don't make any graven images. Don't bow down to them. Don't bring my name to naught. Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. Remember your father and your mother. Know them. Walk, and if they are walking according to my word, my teachings and instructions, walk like them. If they do not walk according to my teachings and instructions, go away from them. Do not walk as them. See, people want to take that word honor, your mother and your father. Yes, you should respect them.
Yeah.
And you should do good towards them.
Yeah.
Do what is right. But so far as them teaching you against walking according to Father Yahweh's laws, that's when you walk contrary to them. That's what that word honor means. It means yada. It means to know. Know them. And if they don't walk like I told you to walk, don't walk like them. Walk like I told you to walk. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Don't bear false witness. Don't lie to your neighbor. Don't covet your neighbor. Be content in your lot that you have here on earth. Don't covet other people. Those are his laws. Those are his governing commandments. Those are they're called the asarot, the brid hasarot. The 10 words. The words that go forth, and then they're categories. So everything underneath there, he tells you how not to make a carved image. Don't do it. He tells us how to walk in accordance with our brethren and how to love them. Love them like you love yourself. Those are the Torah. That's the Torah of Yahweh. And he said, I'll also forget your children. And that's what's happened. That the children have been forgotten. So the following curses are listed in gold and blue. The fruit of these are listed in bold lettering beneath them, and possible root causes. Now these are possible root causes and are listed under the scriptural references, and may vary depending upon the status of the person breaking the command. So if your lineage was a priest, you may have a whole lot of stuff going on in your life. That would probably tell you that your folk may have been part of Aaron's family, part of the Levites. If it's really going bad, broke down, tore up in your life. Because the scripture says in Luke 12:47 and 48, and that servant who knew his master's desire and did not prepare. Now this is the sin of iniquity. This is the sin of transgression. The sin of transgression. Because he knew. And that servant who knew his master's desire and did not prepare, nor did according to his desire, shall be beaten with what? Many stripes. But then the sin of iniquity is, but he who did not know, yet did what was desired, flogging, shall be beaten with a few. So those who did not know the word of the Torah, the keeping of the Sabbath, the keeping of his holy days, the keeping of his laws and his covenant, they're beaten with a few stripes, but they're beaten. And everyone to whom much is given, from him much shall be demanded, required from you. And to whom much has been entrusted. When the Torah was entrusted into the hands of the Levitical priesthood, concerning me. So when we have people who will not teach the Torah to others, or the laws and governing guidelines of the people of Israel, those are the ones he's talking about. Why would you? It's been entrusted in your hands to be a light to the nations. From him, much more shall be asked or required. So, let's go on. The first one, mental and emotional sickness. Now this is confusion, depression, people who fool around and mess around in the occult. You ever met somebody who messed around in the occult, fool around in horoscope? I mean, they're very confused. It's almost like they're a cocaine addict. Because, you know, cocaine addicts, they become very suspicious of everyone, and they're very paranoid, exactly is the word, and they're always looking around, and somebody's talking about me, people having a conversation two blocks over, and look, they're talking about me. This is what the occult does for a person. It brings them in a place of confusion. Now, Deuteronomy 28:20 says, and Yahweh sends on you the curse. Notice how he says, the curse, the confusion, and the rebuke, and all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed, until you perish quickly, because of the evil of your doings, by which you have forsaken me. Father Yahweh said in his Torah, do not go after witchcraft. Do not allow a palm reader, a worker of witchcraft to live within your gates. That's what he says. Do not allow that to happen. He said, you have forsaken me because you have gone after these things. People who buy their children Ouija boards. People who get up in the morning and go straight to the paper and look for their horoscope, or get on, now we have it on our phone where you can get information on your phone. Horoscope. What does my horoscope say for me today? What can I put? And some of these people in the church, I've heard people in the church too say it. These are not pagan people. These are not people who are atheists, who don't believe in Yahweh. I've heard people who claim to be of the Most High that work around and play around in horoscopes and mess around with Ouija boards, buy the children Ouija boards for Christmas. But anyway, possible root cause, occult involvement, possible symptoms, confusion, depression, emotional roller coasters. So we're talking about people who have emotional disorders like bipolarism, depression, manic depressants, people who have issues with those kinds of things. Somewhere up the line, somebody was fooling around in the occult and practicing and playing around in that. So that's the possible root cause. Did everybody get that?
Which verse? Which verse?
That was Deuteronomy 28:20. Go. Yes.
So somebody in the ancestry could have been involved in that.
That's right. Somebody in your ancestry. Remember, we are looking at generational things. Things that either you messed around in or someone up the line played around in. And it will bring that depression and confusion on you. Now, we're not talking about a bout of a person have a situation happen and they have a nervous breakdown. We're talking about someone where there is a whole string of, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's different if a person goes into a depression state. They have a situation that goes on in their life. They lose a loved one and they become a little depressed down, or they become depressed down. No, we're talking about something that is happening over a prolonged period of time. Okay? Where you see mental and emotional diseases all within their family. That's what we're talking about. sometimes anger, lack of joy, self-hatred. You know, you meet people who just hate themselves. They can never be good enough. They're always trying to mimic somebody else. There's those things, untimely death, murder, suicide, disease. Exodus 22:22-24. You shall not afflict an orphan or a widow. If you afflict him, if he at all cries to me, hearing I will hear his cry, and my anger shall glow or burn against you. And I will kill you with the sword, and your wife shall become widows, and your sons orphans. Now also, Exodus 21:12 and 14, and then Exodus 21:23, all refer to the murder and someone taking and killing someone, but it is not as in you're at war and you're battling an enemy. It's talking about innocent blood. It's talking about along the lines of Cain killing Abel. Innocent. The person has done nothing to you. Now, we're going to take it to another level. Yeshua said, you know, that the Torah says, thou shalt not kill. Now, I'm getting ready to say to you today, the Torah says, thou shalt not kill. But I'm telling you, if you open up your mouth and you destroy a person's spirit, you have murdered. You have shed innocent blood. We have to be careful with the words that we speak out of our mouth, because the scripture says that the life and death is in the power of the tongue, and we can destroy. We know that happens because you look at a child that was called stupid, dumb, ignorant, blah blah blah. What does that child grow up to be? Stupid, dumb, ignorant. Oh, you just like your daddy. You just like your daddy. Okay, and you're raising them, so you don't even want to give them a chance.